The Weep's forest loomed ahead, an ancient expanse where the sun seldom pierced the thick canopy of twisted branches and darkened foliage. Orin stepped cautiously onto a path nearly swallowed by decay, his worn leather armor blending with the mottled greens and browns and. The air hung heavy, carrying the sweet cloying scent of rot, a reminder of lives long lost. Shadows danced ominously on the gnarled trunks of trees, their bark twisted and scarred, as if mourning the remnants of a forgotten civilization. Each breath he took was laced with despair, amplifying the isolation that clung to him like a second skin. As he moved deeper into the heart of this decaying wonderland, ghosts of his past whispered accusatory echoes, urging him forward through the labyrinth of sorrow and regret. Yariel paused to run his fingers over the crumbling stone of a forgotten altar, the cold surface rough and unyielding under his touch. Memories surged like a tidal wave, dragging him to the moment he had failed to save his village, faces of the lost flashing through his mind. Children, mothers, all consumed by the plague he could not halt. A low growl of frustration escaped him, but in the suffocating silence of the forest, he was alone. "I have to fix this," he murmured to the indifferent trees around him, his voice barely cutting through the thick air. The forest did not respond, it only continued to watch, ancient and unfeeling, as he wrestled with his guilt. He pressed on, each step heavy with the weight of his thoughts, and the forest seemed to close in and dim, the shadows lengthening. As he stumbled upon the remnants of a long-lost village, crumbling walls adorned with vines and moss, a pang of longing struck him. "What were you once?" he whispered, half to himself. The leaves rustled overhead, as if the forest itself was mourning the lives that had once flourished. His heart ached with the need for redemption, yet each step only deepened his sense of despair. Yariel knelt, brushing aside the underbrush to reveal a faded mural depicting a community thriving before corruption seeped into their lives. Is this what he sought to restore? The air thickened, brimming with the scent of decay that clung to him like a shroud. He could almost hear the laughter of children, the warm glow of hearth fires, but it all faded like smoke before his eyes. "I will not let this cursed fate claim the Weeps too," he vowed, rising to his feet, defiance flickering within him. Despite the shadows that whispered and the weight of his failures, he refused to succumb. The forest breathed around him, alive yet haunted, and he felt an unspoken urgency. Somewhere within this tangled labyrinth, there had to be a way to restore the balance, to redeem the forest and himself. Yariel glanced back to the path he had traveled, each twisted branch and fallen leaf a witness to his struggle. He could turn back, turn to the solitude he had grown accustomed to, but the thought of abandoning the remnants of a once vibrant light stung sharper than any blade. With renewed purpose, he stepped deeper into the darkness, the forest enveloping him in its embrace, promising the danger and the faint glimmer of hope. His journey was far from over, and he could feel the mystery of the Weep stirring, challenging him to uncover its secrets. The deeper he ventured into the heart of the Weep's forest, the more the shadows shifted, revealing glimpses of forgotten truths. A faint rustle behind him broke the silence, and he turned sharply, his heart racing as the darkness seemed to pulse with lice. Was it merely the wind, or something more sinister? Yariel's breath quickened, the weight of his past pressing heavier against him, yet a spark of resolve ignited within. Redemption awaited here, not just for the forest, but for the countless lives he could not save. With a determined stride, he pressed forward, ready to confront whatever lay hidden in the depths of the Weeps, the echoes of the lost urging him onward into the unknown. Beneath the verdant canopy of Weeps forest, the glade of whispers unfolded like a hidden sanctuary, where ethereal light filtered through the interlacing branches, dappling the moss-laden ground in dreams of gold and green. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves, carrying with it the faint whispers voices of the forest, long silenced. Orin stepped into this hallowed ground, his worn leather armor brushing against the delicate ferns that grew in abundance, their fronds trembling meant if acknowledging his presence. The air was fragrant with damp earth and the bittersweet aroma of decaying wood, a reminder of the forest's lingering sorrow that mirrored his own. Here, amid the tranquility, a flicker of hope ignited within him, teasing the edges of his guilt as he sought the elusive path to redemption. As he ventured deeper into the glade, a shimmer caught his eye, a figure materializing from the foliage, seemingly woven from the very soul of the forest. The creature stood tall and slender, its skin resembling gnarled bark, flecked with vibrant moss, and its eyes sparkled like the stars peeking through the twilight sky. "You tread lightly on sacred ground, healer of lost souls," it spoke, its voice resonating with the cadence of rustling leaves. Yariel's heart raced, a mixture of awe and trepidation flooding his senses. "You know me?" he asked, his voice steady despite the tremor beneath. The creature inclined its head, the light shifting around it like a living tapestry. "I know your burden. The puzzle you seek lies deep within this forest, a key to balance that has long since been forgotten." "What must I do?" Yariel inquired, urgency lacing his tone. The creature raised a slender hand, fingertips brushing the air, conjuring visions of ancient runes etched into stone, a labyrinthine puzzle entwined with roots, beckoning him to uncover its secrets. "Kasiegt, and you shall restore, not just the forest, but the echoes of life that once thrived within," it replied enigmatically. Shadows flickered in the corners of the glade, and for a brief moment Yariel felt the weight of the lost souls bearing down on him, their sorrow intertwining with his own. "But beware," the creature continued, its gaze piercing, "for darkness lurks in the heart of this realm, and not one who seek redemption return unscathed." The creature faded back into the foliage, leaving behind a lingering glow that danced upon the air, as if urging him forward. Yariel stood alone, the whispers of the glade swirling around him, an invitation and a warning. With his heart thrumming with newfound purpose, he stepped toward the shadows that beckoned, aware of the peril that lay ahead yet unwilling to turn back. This was his moment, a chance to confront not only the forest corruption, but his own demons as well. The path ahead was obscured, the air thick with uncertainty, but the glimmer of hope ignited a fierce determination within him. He could no longer afford to live in the shadows of his past. Redemption awaited, cloaked in the whispers of the forest. The heart of corruption pulsed with a haunting beauty, where the towering trees, twisted by the weight of time, loomed like solemn sentinels over the decaying wonderland. Each gnarled trunk bore witness to the forest's sorrow, their blackened bark entwined with vibrant yet sinister flora that thrived against the ebbing light. Clusters of bioluminescent fungi flickered like spectral stars in the underbrush, illuminating the remnants of an ancient civilization swallowed by nature's embrace. It was seed in labyrinth of beauty to decay that Orin stood, breath catching in his throat. He approached the wise mentor, the air thick with tension and a sense of impending dread. The scent of damp earth and rotted leaves clung to him, a reminder of the forest's fragile state, as he braced himself for the revelation that could alter everything he believed. Ulric Bramwell appeared from the shadows, his stocky frame silhouetted against the faint glow of luminous plants. The mentor's cold blue eyes pierced through the darkness, filled with a mixture of wisdom and sorrow. "Yari, what you seek comes at a price far greater than you would imagine. To solve the puzzle is to taint this forest essence, to infuse with corruption that might never heal," he warned, his voice as gravelly as the crumbling stone at their feet. Yari's heart clenched, the weight of his past failures pressing down Nick and Anchor, pulling him into an abyss of indecision. But if I don't act, Ulric, soldiers are already encroaching, driven by greed. This forest will wither away, leaving nothing but shadows. Yariel shot back, eyes blazing with desperation. The silence that followed hung heavy, a moment suspended in time, where the sounds of the forest whispering leaves, distant rustling, seemed to hold their breath, waiting for his next move. Just then, the air crackled with a sinister energy, and the unmistakable vigor of the antagonist emerged from the gloom, a smirk playing at the corners of his lips. The man was a grotesque mockery of authority, clad in the fineries of his office, yet his eyes gleamed with a predatory hunger. Ah, the righteous healer, torn between saving a dying world and preserving its rot. How quaint, he sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. You think your past failures empower you? No, it is your guilt that shackles you, turning you into a mere puppet in a game you cannot comprehend. This forest decay is but a stepping stone for me, and you, he gestured dismissively, are simply in my way. Yariel felt the churning of emotions within him, anger, fear, and the suffocating weight of doubt. With each word that spilled from the antagonist's lips, his resolve faltered, yet a flicker of defiance ignited within. You're wrong, and you'll find that I refuse to be your pawn any longer, no matter the consequences. He straightened, effectively shaking off the chains of his past, ready to face whatever lay ahead, even if that meant embracing the darkness within him to protect the light of the Weep's forest. As the words hung in the air, a storm brewed within Yariel, the forest around him echoing his turmoil. The twisted branches creaked ominously, while the vibrant foliage seemed to darken, resonating with the weight of his choices. Ulric's gaze remained steady, a beacon of calm amidst the chaos, urging Yariel to dig deep and confront the truth of his journey. Yet the specter of the antagonist loomed larger, his laughter mingling with the rustle of leaves, a taunting reminder of the path he had walked, and the choices still before him. With a determined breath, Yariel felt a surge of clarity, the glimmer of hope once again igniting in his chest, but the shadow of doubt lingered, threatening to engulf him, meet he faced the impending storm. The whispers of the forest echoed his inner strife, the branches weaving a tapestry of choices yet to be made. A sudden gust of wind rushed through the trees, scattering leaves like fragments of forgotten dreams. Yariel's heart raced. He could no longer dwell in shadows. With one last defiant glance at the antagonist, he stepped forward, his resolve crystallizing. The forest beckoned him, its purity, though tainted, was still worth fighting for. The battle was just beginning, and we took a step into the fray. He felt the weight of both his past and the future pressing down, urging him to embrace his destiny, no matter the cost. And so, with the chilling laughter of the antagonist echoing behind him and the steadfast presence of Ulric guiding him forward, Yariel plunged deeper into the heart of the Weep's forest. The path ahead twisted like the very roots beneath his feet, a labyrinth of choices and consequences unfurling before him. He realized that to safeguard the essence of the forest, he must first confront the darkness within himself. As he pressed on, each step resonated with the pulse of a world on the brink, and the echoes of his past whispered warnings that would guide or betray him. The stakes had never been higher, and with each heartbeat, the forest held its breath, waiting for his next move. The weeping forest stood solemnly, its gnarled trees and shadowy whispers casting an eerie spell. The trunks, slick with moisture and darkened by decay, loomed like ancient sentinels. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth, mingling with the faint sweetness of wilt-teared blossoms, creating an atmosphere that felt seductive and suffocating. Sunlight filtered through the twisted branches, casting fragmented patterns on the forest floor, where the underbrush writhed with life and decay in equal measure. Each step he took sent a shiver of trepidation through him, a reminder of the stakes at play. The world-willed fate balanced precariously on a knife mistrage. Driven by guilt and resolve, he stepped deeper into the heart of the wood, where the air grew heavier, with the weight of his own regrets pressing down upon him. A rustling sound broke the eerie silence, drawing Yariel's attention. Emerging from the shadows was a symbiote, pulsating with vibrant energy and an otherworldly glow. Its form twisted and shimmered like smoke caught in an ethereal dance. "So, the healer has come to reclaim his honor," it hissed, voice a harmony of mockery and intrigue. Yariel stood his ground, heart pounding a war drum. "I am me to save what remains of this forest, to confront the darkness that has seeped into its soul. I will not falter this time." The symbiote laughed, a sound of dry leaves scraping against stone. "Very well, healer. Prove your resolve. Let us see the depths of your spirit." In an instant the air shimmered and the forest around him warped and twisted. Vivid images of his past emerged from the mist shadows, morphed forth into the faces of those he had failed. The villagers choking on the plague, their eyes pleading for salvation. The weight of their sorrow pressed against his, suffocating. "No," he gasped, hands clenching into fists, nails biting into his palms. "I cannot be haunted by this again." With each step he took, the hallucinations intensified. A child laughter echoed through the trees, morphing into a cry for help. Yariel stumbled, the ground shifting beneath his feet as memories assaulted him. "You could have saved me." A voice shrieked, a phantom, woven into the very fabric of the forest. Gripping the sides of his head, he roared against the tide of despair, channeling the defiance that flickered within.
"I will not give in.
I refuse to let my failures define fire." The symbioted form flickered, intrigued by his rising spirit, yet a new illusion took shape, a vision of the forest consumed by dark fire, its beauty reduced to ash. "Is this the future you desired?" it taunted, weaving the threads of his fear tighter around him. Yariel's breath quickened, heart racing as he fought back the visions. Each step felt like breaking through a veil, the darkness clawing at him with icy fingers. "This is not who I am," he shouted, his voice echoing through the clearing. As he broke through the last of the illusions, the symbiote recoiled, its glow dimming. Yariel stood, chest heaving, but resolve crystallizing like ice in his veins. "I will find a way to restore this place. I will not become another lost soul in the weeping forest. Not now, not there." The symbiote watched him with a mix of admiration and irritation, its energy flickering with uncertainty, as if pondering what this newfound strength meant for their encounter. With each pulse of his own heartbeat, Yariel felt the forest's sorrow reverberate through her. Yet something had shifted. He had faced his fears, and while the symbiote challenges would cease, the path ahead appeared less obscured, illuminated by the flickering flames of his resolve. As he pressed forward, the trees whispered secrets, and the air crackled with the promise of change. The weeping forest was far from won, but for the first time he felt the stirring of hope beneath the weight of his guilt. With the symbiote's eyes lingering upon him, a silent acknowledgement passed between them. The battle for the forest was just beginning, and Yariel was ready to embrace the fight. With a renewed sense of purpose coursing through him, Yariel felt the forest spirit intertwine with his own. This was not merely a confrontation. It was a call to arms, a chance for redemption that he could no longer ignore. The weeping forest held the whispers of its own potential, and he was determined to uncover it, no matter the cost. He stepped forward, ready to face whatever lay ahead, emboldened by the flicker of hope igniting within. The weeping forest stretched out before Orin, its twisted trunks and gnarled roots seeming to pulse with a life of their own, whispering secrets through the rustle of leaves. Mist curled languidly around his worn leather armor, soaking into the fabric, a reminder of the damp air heavy with the scent of moss and decay. Light filtering through the dense canopy cast a dappled glow, illuminating patches of vibrant yet ominous flora that thrived amongst the ruins of a forgotten civilization. As he stepped into a clearing, his heart stuttered. There, just beyond the shadows, a cluster of soldiers in crisp uniforms was establishing a stronghold, their movements efficient and mechanical, an unsettling contrast to the forest's chaotic beauty. The sight sent a jolt of fear through him. He could feel the stakes escalating, the very pulse of the forest quickening in response to the encroaching danger. Yariel crouched low, heart racing as he took stock of the soldiers. Their armor gleamed unnaturally in the muted light, a stark reminder of the civilization that sought to dominate this sacred land. He could hear the clatter of equipment and the sharp orders barked by a stocky officer with a prominent scar running across his cheek, his cold blue eyes scanning the tree line with predatory intent. "For what?" "I want those barricades up before nightfall," the officer shouted, snapping Yariel back to the reality of the situation. Each command drove a nail into Yariel's chest, a reminder of the destruction that would follow if he did nothing to intervene. The forest, once a haven where he found solace, felt like it was holding its breath. And in that moment, he knew he could not remain a bystander. It clenched his fists, the faded scars on his forearms taut with the weight of his decision. Before he could allow doubt to creep in, he recalled his purpose. The forest's purity needed a guardian. With a deep inhalation of the earthy scent mingling with the bitterness of fear, Yariel steeled himself and began to formulate a plan. "If I create a diversion," he muttered under his breath, the thought igniting a flicker of determination within him. As he weighed his options, the sound of heavy footsteps approached, causing him to flatten himself against the cool earth. Yariel's breath caught in his throat as he caught sight of a figure moving through the underbrush. A soldier, his sharp features illuminated momentarily by a shaft of light. They were just sit to fortify. They were to claim. Yariel's resolve solidified, fueled by the memory of his village, the faces of those he had failed. He couldn't let this happen again. "I have to act now," he whispered, the words almost swallowed by the forest's somber symphony, before it too late. With a deep breath, Yariel moved quietly, the forest floor soft beneath his feet, his heart sinking with the rhythm of the trees wreath him. He reached for a slender branch, snapping it with a deliberate crack that echoed through the silence, drawing attention away from the soldiers' preparations. Panic surged within him, but he buried it under layers of resolve. As the soldiers turned, startled by the noise, Yariel melted deeper into the shadows, knowing that the battle for the weeping forest had only just begun. The weight of his mission pressed against him like the very canopy, but for the first time, amidst the chaos and fear, he felt the stirrings of purpose ignite his spirit. The ancient ruins of the weeping forest loomed like spectral sentinels above Orin, their crumbling stone faces etched with the bittersweet history of a time long forgotten. A dense mist clung to the gnarled roots and twisted vines, wrapping the air in an unsettling embrace that permeated his senses. The soft rustle of leaves whispered secrets in the hushed twilight, their sound harmonizing with the faint pulse of bioluminescent flora that flickered sporadically like the fleeting hope in his heart. Kneeling among the debris of a shattered civilization, Yariel traced the intricate carvings, his fingers trembling with the weight of his past failures. each scar on his forearms a reminder of burdens borne and lives lost. Here, in this sacred ground, the air thick with decay and beauty, he sought to decipher the puzzle that could restore the forest purity, unaware that shadows were gathering at the edges of the clearing. A sudden crack of branches shattered the silence, and a gust of breathless urgency coursed through Yariel's veins. He spun on his heel, instincts honed by years of solitude and regret igniting his senses. The soldiers emerged from their hidden lairs, faces obscured by shadows, their cold blue eyes glinting with malice as they encircled in like wolves. "You think you can save this place, healer?" barked a voice, each word laced with scorn. The leader, a stocky man adorned in dark military regalia, stepped forward, a sinister smile spreading across his scarred face. "You're just another ghost haunting these woods." In that moment, with anger and determination coiling within him, Yariel reached for his dagger, its familiar weight grounding him even as the chaos unfolded. As steel met steel, the clash of metal resonated through the forest, mingling with the cries of unseen creatures, echoing the turmoil in Yariel's heart. He fought with a desperation fueled by the memories of his village, his people, fragments of their laughter and the lingering scent of herbs he had failed to protect. Each movement was a dance with his regrets, the soldiers' relentless strikes forcing him to oscillate between offense and defense. "You can't protect what already lost," the leader taunted, his blade striking dangerously close. The words wrapped mad Yariel, a vise tightening around his resolve. He felt the weight of the ruins pressing down upon him, mirroring the burdens he had carried for years. Overwhelmed, he stumbled back, breathless and heart-pounding, a surge of despair washing over him. The soldiers closed in, their laughter a cruel symphony against the backdrop of the forest weeping trees. In that suffocating moment, realization struck him like a bitter storm.
The forest, the very soul he sought to protect, was slipping through his fingers, just the stem his village had.
Shadows danced in his peripheral vision, and hope flickered in the dying light of the bioluminescent plants around him. Yet, amid the despair, a question burned in his mind: was this truly the end of his struggle, or merely the beginning of a darker path? The answer hung in the air, as tangible and haunting as the forest itself. As Orin stepped into the shadowy grove at the heart of the weeping forest, a palpable weight enveloped it. Thick cade the creeping fog that clung to the gnarled roots of ancient trees. The sun, a fading ember on the horizon, cast elongated shadows that twisted and writhed along the damp earth, mirroring the turmoil roiling within him. Each breath drew in the scent of damp moss and decaying leaves, blending with an undercurrent of something bittersweet, a whisper of the forest's sorrow. He paused, leaning against the rough bark of a twisted oak, its surface cool and unyielding against his back, and surrendered to the doubt that had haunted him since the day he had failed his village. The haunting echoes of his mentor's voice drifted through his mind, urging him to seek wisdom within the very depths of despair. Yariel closed his eyes and listened, as if the forest itself might speak back to him. The leaves rustled softly in the evening breeze, a gentle murmur that seemed to cradle his thoughts, drawing him deeper into the shadows. "You were never meant to bear this burden alone," he recalled Ulric's gruff voice, filled with a strength that had once buoyed his spirits. But now, the words felt like chains, each syllable weighted with reproach. He clenched his fists, feeling the familiar sting of the faded scars lining his forearms, reminders of battles lost and the healing he had failed to deliver. Yet, amidst the gnawing despair, a flicker of resolve ignited within him, sparking at the last rays of sunlight cutting through the branches above. With a deep breath, he straightened and began to pace, the damp earth squelching beneath his worn leather boots. "What would you have me do, Ulric?" he murmured to the shadows, as if the forest could conjure his mentor's spirit from the depths of memory. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the distant call of a nightingale, its song a fragile note of hope against the encroaching darkness. Yariel stopped, the weight of his failure crashing upon him anew. But instead of sinking beneath it, he steeled himself, letting the pain wash over him like a cleansing rain. He was not done yet. The forest still needed hid. As the sun surrendered to night, leaving behind a tapestry of stars that flickered like distant lanterns, Yariel felt the shadows close in, whispering secrets of his fears. He dropped to his knees, fingers digging into the loamy soil, seeking something, an anchor, perhaps, or a sign. "I will not be a coward, not now, not dead again," he vowed, the words rising from deep within him, fierce and unyielding. The shadows shivered, and for a fleeting moment he felt a pulse of ancient power emanating from the forest around him, urging him to rise, to push against the tide of despair. The darkness was not merely an end, it held the promise of rebirth, if he dared to embrace it fully. A renewed determination coursed through him as he stood, looking out into the depths of the forest, where the heart of corruption lay shrouded in mystery. It was not the end, it was the beginning of a journey deeper than he had imagined. The shadows, once a suffocating weight, now felt like a cloak, protective and empowering. He had lost much, but the forest still thrummed with life, and with it, a chance for redemption. As he took his first step forward, the night wrapped around him like a loving embrace, and he felt the thrill of possibility surge through him. Yes, he thought, but the hardest part was yet to come. The darkness thickened as he ventured deeper into the grove, each step echoing with the haunting memories of his past. The weight of uncertainty clung to him like the heavy mist, but with every heartbeat he felt a flicker of hope. A soft rustling in the underbrush caught his attention, and he halted, senses heightened, aware that the forest was alive with more than just shadows. Something, or someone, awaited him, ready to test the resolve he had just forged. The air crackled with anticipation, and he steeled himself for what lay ahead, knowing that the true battle for his redemption was only just beginning. The weeping forest embraced Yariel Orin like a shroud, its gnarled trees and thick underbrush weaving a tapestry of shadow and sorrow. Sunlight filtered through the canopy, dappling the forest floor with golden patches that danced upon the carpet of fallen leaves, yet the air remained heavy with a palpable unease. The distant sound of a brook murmured Ficus' secret, and the scent of damp earth mingled with the bittersweet aroma of decaying foliage. Yariel stood in a hidden glade, his worn leather armor brushing against his skin iliums. He pressed his back against a moss-covered trunk, heart pound with the weight of his past failures. The scars on his forearms throbbed as he searched the dimness, a whisper of hope flickering amidst the despair that threatened to consume him once more. From the depths of the forest, a fear emerged, bathed in an ethereal light that contrast stabbed sharply with the gloom surrounding them. Ulric Bramwell, his wise mentor, approached with a deliberate grace, his stocky face radiating calm and authority. The silver strands of his slick kickback hair caught the light like threads of hope, and his cold blue eyes softened as they met Yariel's haunted gaze. "Yari, my boy, you need not bear this burden alone." Ulric's voice resonated, deep and rich. "The shadows that pursue you, be faced, not fled from. Sacrifice and redemption often walk hand in hand." Yariel clenched his fists, the weight of Ulric's words clashing with the tumult inside him. "How can I confront what I've lost? I failed to save my village. What can I possibly do now?" His voice cracked, laced with the bitterness of regret. Ulric stepped close, his presence grounding. "You must understand that every act of courage, no matter how small, yet alter the course of fate. The forest needs us now more than then. Will you let fear dictate your destiny, or will you rise to challenge it? The glade fell silent, save for the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant chirping of birds. A flicker of determination ignited within Yariel's chest, suppressing the despair that threatened to engulf him. Tell me what to do, Ulric. I will not let the soldiers destroy the forest and everything I hold dear. His voice steadied, resolve hardened in his gaze. Ulric smiled, the corners of his eyes crinkling. Then we shall devise a plan. Together, we will reclaim not just the forest but your purpose well. As the shadows lengthened and the light waned, the two figures stood resolute within the hidden glade, the air around them thick with imminent possibilities. Yariel felt a renewed sense of purpose stemming from Ulric's steady presence, forging a bond that transcended mere mentor and student. The threats of the eyed world loomed, but within that sacred space, they began to outline their strategy, each word an incantation against despair. The forest whispered its secrets, and amid the rustle of the trees, hope blossomed anew, a delicate promise that the battle was far from over. The Weep's forest cradled a hidden glade, where the ancient trees formed a whispering canopy above. Sunlight, muted through the thick foliage, dappled the mossy ground, weaving light and shadow into a tapestry of tranquility and unease. In the center of this sanctuary stood a makeshift table, rough-hewn and adorned with maps, sketches of the corrupt official estate, and symbols of their quest. Orin, his lean frame draped in a tattered green cloak, hunched over the table, eyes glinting with a mix of determination and the ghosts of his past. The scent of damp earth mingled with the sweet decay of fallen leaves, as if even the forest mourned at the conflict that loomed ahead. The stillness was broken only by the rustling of leaves overhead, a quiet audience to the gathering of forest allies. Ulric Bramwell, the wise mentor who embodied the very spirit of the Weeps, strode forward with a confidence that seemed to command the shadows. His voice was a gravelly rumble, resonating with authority. Every sacrifice we make in this fight must be weighed against the cost of inaction. We must be prepared to lose what we hold dear, he urged, his cold blue eyes surveying the gathering. The allies stood in a loose circle, a blend of fur and feathers, their expressions a reflection of fierce loyalty. What do we stand to protect if not our home? One of them, a wiry fox named Kale, injected, his fur bristling with fervor. The corruption festers, the rot in our roots. It has to be cut out, is it? As the dialogue morphed into fervent exchanges, the atmosphere thickened with tension. Yariel listened, heart pound, each story shared by the allies an invocation of strength. A badger, wide and sturdy, recounted a time when he had faced off against a pack of marauders, his voice layered with pride and pain. Lost my brother that day, he confessed, his claws digging into the earth. But I fought for every creature that called the forest home. With each contribution, the flicker of determination ignited in Yariel's chest, a flame coaxed to life by their sacrifices. We can't turn back now, he finally spoke, his voice steadier than he felt. If we don't act, Ulric's vision will suffocate the very heart of this forest. Yet, deep within him, an edge of doubt lingered, a specter of the guilt that had once paralyzed him. He knew the path ahead would demand more than courage, would ask for pieces of their very souls. The shadows of the trees seemed to lean in low, listening intently. Yes, but what are we willing to give? Yariel's question hung in the air, heavy with implication, forcing them to confront the truth they had skirted. The forest breathed down them, a living testament to their resolve. But the weight of their impending choices loomed larger than the glade itself, shadowed by the dark heart of corruption that awaited them. The Weep's forest stood as a tempestuous witness, its ancient trees bowing beneath the weight of an impending storm, both in nature and in spirit. The ground, once soft underfoot, now trembled with the throbbing pulse of conflict, the air thick with the acrid scent of sweat and smoke. Yari, lean and wiry, stepped cautiously toward the dam, the sound of rushing water a deafening roar that was soon drowned out by the clash of steel against steel. Shadows flickered in the twilight. Allies fought fiercely against the encroaching forces led by Ulric Bramwell, a man whose presence loomed like a thunderhead, darkened by intent. As the cries of battle rose around him, Yariel braced himself, clutching the hilt of his sword, a relic of the very purity he feared he might betray. Ulric's laughter, harsh, guttural sound, cut through the chaos as he advanced, his form a solid wall of defiance. "You think you can save this forest?" he sneered, the cold blue of his eyes glinting with a twisted fervor. "This will only end when the weak are purged and order is restored. Sacrifice is the price of purity, Yariel. Are you ready to pay?" His words dripped with a fervor that ignited Yariel's resolve, but uncertainty festered. Was he truly prepared to sacrifice those he fought for? Each swing of the sword felt heavier as though his doubts were manifesting into weighty chains. Yariel's breath hitched as he dodged a swing from one of Ulric's men, the sharp tang of blood mingling with the damp earth beneath him.
"All your talk of order is just that, Ulric."
"A mask for your madness," he countered, his voice strained yet resolute, pushing through the exhaustion that threatened to overtake him. The forest behind him whispered its own secrets, the rustling leaves echoing his inner turmoil. Even as the fight raged on, he felt the forest's stab pulse echoing in his veins, urging him to remember why he had come to this battleground. A surge of adrenaline coursed through as he parried another attack, the blade clashing like thunder in the damp air. But doubt gnawed at the edges of his mind. Did he truly believe in the purity he fought for? Or was he merely another pawn in a game of supremacy? The weight of his moral dilemma hung heavy in the air, obscured by the chaos around him. He could hear the cries of his allies mingling with the laughter of the enemy, and for a fleeting moment it all blurred into a cacophony of despair and defiance. Yariel's heart thudded painfully against his ribs, the choices before him narrowing like the shadows around him, drawing him into unfathomable depths. A sudden cry pierced his reverie, a call for help from one of his forest allies, a young woman he had fought alongside in recent battles. With a fierce surge of purpose, Yariel plunged forward, leaving behind his internal conflict for a moment. In that instant, the world around him narrowed to the sound of metal clashing. The scent of blood mingled with the earthy aroma of the damp forest floor, and the bitter taste of his own doubts. But even as he fought to rescue her, Ulric's voice echoed in his ears, taunting and persistent, a dark reminder of the cost of his convictions. He had to decide, could he fight for the forest to purity without losing himself in the process? Closing paragraphs. Caught between the primal instinct to protect and the weight of his beliefs, Yariel felt the ground shift beneath him, a churning mixture of resolve and uncertainty. He stole a glance at Ulric, whose scar-scarred visage seemed to mock him, the embodiment of twisted duty cloaked in the guise of righteousness. The battle raged on, with cries and clashing steel enveloping the air like a storm. But within the tempest, Yariel found himself standing at a precipice. The forest called to him, its pulse quickening, as if urging him to embrace the very chaos he sought to quell. He'd inhaled deeply, the air thick with potential, and in that moment,
he understood.
To protect the Weeps forest was to risk everything, even the ideals he had clung to so tightly. The choice loomed before him, and the echoes of Ulric's laughter faded into a resolve that burned brightly within. Action beckoned, and he was ready to answer its call. Yariel's heart raced as he prepared to dive back into the fray, the weight of his decision settling upon him like an unyielding cloak. With the forest as allied witness, he knew that this confrontation would define not only the fate of the Weeps forest, but also his very soul. The clock was ticking, the air crackling with tension, and as he charged forward, he felt the line between purity and corruption blur beneath his feet, ready to shatter. The Weeps forest loomed down Orin, a shroud of haunting beauty and deep despair. He stepped into the heart of decay known as the heart of corruption. Gnarled trees stretched upward large skeletal fingers, their darkened bark weeping sap that glistened under the flickering light of bioluminescent plants. Ancient ruins, once vibrant with life, now lay entwined in a web of ivy and shadow, whispering forgotten secrets into the damp air. Each breath was heavy with the scent of earth and decay, a constant reminder of the purity he had sworn to protect. As he made his way deeper, the echo of Ulric Bramwell laughter followed him, a sinning sound that twisted through the labyrinthine trees, urging him toward the central clearing where his fate awaited. Yari, you'll never understand, Ric's voice, dripping with condescension as he emerged from the shadows, his figure a stark contrast to the ethereal glow surrounding them. You cling to your ideals like a child with a broken toy. The forest is dying, and I have the vision to save it. His cold blue eyes glinted with a manic gleam, as if the very essence of his ambition thrived on the decay surrounding them. Yariel clenched his fists, feeling the rough texture of his leather armor against the scars etched on his forearms. You think corruption is salvation, he countered, his voice steadier than he felt. You've twisted its beauty into something unrecognizable. With a wave of his head, Ulric gestured to the ruins, their intricate carvings now darkened with grime and neglect. What is purity worth if it leads to destruction? I harness the essence of this forest, bend it to my will. You could join me, Yariel. We could reshape it together. The weight of the proposal hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Yariel's heart raced, each beat echoing with the memories of his past failures, the lives he could not save. But he gazed at the remnants of the ancient civilization. A chilling realization crept over him. To solve the final puzzle, he would have to embrace the very corruption he fought against, tainting the essence he held dear. Tears blurred his vision, mingling with the dampness of the forest air as he made the heartbreaking choice. With a shuddering breath, Yariel reached out, feeling the pulse of the forest beneath his fingertips, a vibrant but tainted heartbeat that called to him. If this is the only way, he whispered, voice trembling with sorrow and resolve. As darkness encroached upon the clearing, he felt the essence shift, the bittersweet taste of redemption on his tongue. Yet he knew, deep down, that he had sealed the forest fate, and with it, perhaps his own. The laughter of Ulric rang out once more, sharper and more triumphant, as the shadows deepened around them, hinting at the chaos yet to unfold. The Weeps forest had always whispered secrets in the rustling leaves, but today, a profound stillness enveloped a tranquil clearing that had once sung with the clear notes of a babbling brook. Sunlight filtered through the dense canopy, casting dappled patterns on the mossy ground, where wildflowers swayed gently, their colors vibrant yet shadowed by an almost somber beauty. Orin stepped into this sacred space, his worn leather armor creaking softly, every scar on his forearms a testament to battles fought, both within and without. The air carried a bittersweet scent of damp earth intermingled with the crispness of pine, an essence transformed, just like him, reflecting the delicate balance he now recognized between purity and corruption. Awaiting him at the other end of the clearing stood Ulric Bramwell, the wise mentor whose cold blue eyes glimmered with pride and sorrow, deepening the silence that hung like a fragile thread between them. Yariel's breath caught as he met Ulric's gaze, the mentor demeanor a mixture of warmth and wariness. "You've returned, then." I sensed the shift in the forest's heartbeat, a rhythm disturbed yet somehow more harmonious than before, Ulric said, his voice gravelly, like leaves crunching underfoot. Yariel's heart fled with a mixture of relief and tension, the weight of his choices settling heavily on his shoulders. He took a step back, feeling the cool breeze stir the air, carrying with it the ghosts of his past and the possibilities of his future.
I've made my choice, Ulric.
The balance is complicated now, but it sings a new song. Can you hear it? Complicated is a kind way to put it, Ulric replied, his brow furrowing slightly. There is beauty in the complexity, it true, but danger lurks in the shadows of this new reality. You've tamed something wild, and wild things often bite back. The mentor's words hung in the air, heavy with foreboding. Yariel knelt to brush his fingers against the soft petals of a flower, a small emblem of hope amidst uncertainty. The touch sent a jolt through him. He was not the healer who had failed his village anymore. He was a part of this forest, its essence woven into his very soul. I know the risks, but I can't turn back now, not when I finally understand what it means to coexist with the darkness as well as the light. I've learned that teeth are necessary for growth. Ulric nodded slowly, the lines of his face deepening with the weight of years lived between the lines of wisdom and folly. And yet, wisdom is often born from the ashes of regret. You carry your burdens, like a shadow, Yariel. They will not dissipate easily, even in this new light. Yariel stood, his eyes scanning the clearing, now a tapestry of enchantment and ambiguity, much like his own heart. The shadows whispered now, not just of loss but of potential. I must embrace it, Ulric. If I create a new path, perhaps others will not have to bear my chains. Maybe we will save what left of this forest's Heretic. With a heavy sigh, Ulric stepped closer, clapping a sturdy hand on Yariel's shoulder. You are more than I hoped you would become, yet the journey ahead is fraught with peril. We must remain vigilant. Remember, hope and despair are two sides of the same coin. To wield one is to invite the other. The clearing rang them, shimmered with the dusk light, and Yariel felt the stirrings of determination within him, a resolve that would easily wane. As he and Ulric began to walk deeper into the forest, the air grew thick with the scent of impending rain, a sign of the storms, both within and outside, that lay ahead, beckoning them forward into the unknown. The atmosphere shifted, charged with anticipation, while they stepped away from the clearing and into the embrace of the looming trees, their gnarled forms seeming to lean closer, as if eavesdropping on the unfolding fate of the forest. Yariel's heart raced, a blend of fear and exhilaration coursing through his. The path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty, yet he felt a newfound strength weaving through his veins. He had chosen to live in the delicate balance of light and shadow, accepting the complexities of his choices. As rain began to patter softly against the leaves above, he turned to Ulric, a silent vow forming between them. Together, they would navigate the turbulent waters of this transformed world, ready to face whatever awaited them, the tension crackling in the air like a lightning bolt ready to strike.